I can't wait to show you my toys.
Okay, here we are starting the Foden chain truck, and it's in pretty good nick. Obviously missing a couple of the chain posts. I've got a bent one over in the back corner. Other than that, it's pretty well all there. I've managed to find a nut and bolt to retain the spare wheel. It's in pretty good nick. And one of my subscribers, Martin Dare out of the UK, has chosen the colour, and he's just happened to have chosen the factory original colour of this particular model, which is a red cabin and chassis and the light grey tray. So what does it need? Well, obviously it needs a couple of posts, and one is absent. One at the back corner has come out completely, and this one here has snapped, and you can see how they look on the underside. They're just a rounded, basically like a rivet really. They're just rounded off at the bottom of the tray, and that's how they're held in. And the broken one, as you can see, it's still there. So what I will do is, luckily for me, Dad kept, or has, whether or not they're from this truck I'm not sure. That one quite possibly is because it's red. This one's I think the burgundy that the truck also came out in. But I just wanted to show you the difference between reproduction posts for these trucks and original ones. And here's a reproduction post, and I'm sure you can see it's a bit thin, especially in the eyelet where the chain runs through. It might look a bit better once it's painted, because I'll have that extra coat of primer and paint to thicken it up. But what I'll be doing is replacing the broken and missing pin with two original ones. So I'll pick which one of these fits best on the one that has been broken, and I will just drill and pin it into place with a bit of brass rod into the rivet that's in the body, that one there. And the missing one, well, I'll figure that out when I get to it. But you won't know the difference. It'll look absolutely original. And of course the other thing it's missing is the chain. And I've got two chains. I think one of them is a repro and one's original. Obviously there's a big difference in length, so we'll figure out which one is correct. The models I've seen, they did have a bit of sag from post to post. It wasn't a nice straight line, hence why I'm thinking the longer one might be the original chain, and that might be the repro chain. So another thing to be aware of too, if you're restoring this truck and you order replacement posts and replacement chains, just be aware that the replacement chain might not be the proper length, but I'll confirm that. Alright, so here we are, we're onto it. Let's begin. Alright, just to disassemble it, you take out that little nut and bolt off the back there that holds the spare tyre in. She just pops apart. The front of the tray is held into the back of the cabin by those little lugs there, slot in there. So I'm not going to bother drilling out that rivet there that holds the tow hook in. I'll just straighten that out. Of course, if I break it when I straighten it, then obviously that'll be a different story. But I'm just making a note that the rivet is red and the actual hook is raw metal, as is the base plate under the bottom of the cabin of the truck. The rest is all red. And I've just put a piece of sticky tape over the grey. I'm going to see how that survives or does not survive the caustic soda paint removal process. And if it does keep the grey paint under there, then that's what I can use to match my grey. So we'll see how that goes, and that'll be pretty useful information if it works. Just wanted to show you this on the axle. Don't just pick a side of the vehicle and just choose that side to grind off the ends of the axles. Make sure you check them out. On this side of the truck, this end of the axle is quite thick, whereas on this end it's actually just a very thin edge. So you're taking off less material here, and it's a lot harder to replicate that big chunky axle end. And the end result when you do re-axle them is generally closer to this finish. So I found on this truck, the two axles that the ends that needed grinding off were on this side at the back of the truck, and they're on this side on the front of the truck. So just make sure you check them all before you start grinding away. I need a bigger jug. So I've removed the tape, and you can see that I've got some nice colour there to match the paint schemes for the tray and the chassis. Okay, I've started straightening the hook. You've got to be very careful that you don't just grab your pliers, grab the hook and then bend it, because you put a lot of strain on that die cast rivet just there and they break. All these things are very fragile. All these mounting points are very fragile. Seen countless restorers break things like that when they're tapping away with hammers, getting axles out or straightening hooks. It's just ridiculous. So you need to get some pressure on that area there to keep it firmly in place. So I'll use the little vice grip pliers, along those pointy vice grip pliers, and clamp that somewhat like that, so that there's no strain on that die cast rivet. And then I'll get my pliers and straighten the hook. I'll show you in a sec. Okay, so I've popped the broken remaining portion of the post out and chosen the straightest of the original posts. Now I'll mate it up to make sure that it's going to be that long, and it just needs that collar at the very bottom of the post there. And yeah, as long as it's that long, all good. And now the collar, which I will hopefully fabricate out of a bit of tube of the right diameter. Let's see what I've got in the stash. That'll do me. Okay, I've pinned the chain post still, it's not glued. It has to be obviously separated so that I can get it into the truck. So what are we looking at? 21.87. I think that'll be close enough. So I'll separate it and work on the collar by fixing it to the bottom of the post and filling it, sanding it, making it look like it's supposed to look. And then when it's ready, join them both together. Collar's in. Looks good. Let's try that way. Okay, there is the first of the post replacements, and that's using the original post and scratch building the collar at the base, and that's a unbroken original there. And that's the repair, and that is pretty good. A little bit of sanding to do around there at the base, but that is fantastic. So this one here, I was going to use an original post, but I've found in amongst the replica ones this one, and it's the only one of the many that I've got that's really close. Well, it's as close to an original as you're going to get. It's got that thicker base and tapers up towards the eyelet, which none of the other replicas does. So I'm going to use this, save me a lot of time, and that only leaves me with one issue, and that's replicating the head of the rivet, which should look like that at the base. So how will I do that? Well, once I've glued that in place, I'll then get some putty and build up that rivet on the base and shape it with this. And all I've done is just get a paintbrush and grooved in a bit of a concave impression, about the same profile as the rivet head, and I'll just use that to shape the putty at the bottom. And then with a file I will replicate those tiny little straight lines you can see. So that's the plan. Okay, so that's an original, and that's the broken one, or missing one, and that's just the super glue and baking powder. And I'll just put a thin film of putty over the top of that, shape it with my little paintbrush, and then put those little marks in it, and she's done. You can already see how close that is. Well, the long chain is too long, and the short chain is too short. Bloody hell. So spot the fake rivet head. Well, it's that one, of course, but as you can see, you'd really have no idea if you didn't already know. Okay, I've painted the tray. That grey was just pretty simple to mix up with a couple of drops of black. Now the red, which is the RLM23 Model Air Vallejo, I mixed with 5 drops of their black. And that is it there. That was the standard red with no black. That was 4 drops of black, which is close enough even. And that's 5 drops of black. That's what I've gone for. So paint's going down. Getting down to the business end now. It's where the nerves really get frayed. And I swear I don't need the stress. Painting these things is just aneurysm inducing. There it is. What a pearler. I still have to finish off the axles, but that should be pretty straightforward. And I have to say, this is the best yet. It literally is mint. I just need a box. What a great display that would make. And she is a ripper. Watch this going around and around all night. So there it is. Thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. And if you've got an old Dinky toy and you'd like me to restore it for you, get in touch. I'd be happy to have a crack at most anything. If you've got any broken ones, parts, anything for the scrap heap, they all come in handy for the various projects. Just drop me a line. And I hope you enjoyed this one. I really did. It's fantastic.